Welcome to a longsword guide, where I'll explain the weapon pretty good, but first an important quote. It matters not the length of your sword, but instead the quality of your blade. After all, you can buy a pretty long sheath and compensate. To save my sanity and make this guide more universal, go to the training range, draw your weapon, and look in the top right. We have Slash, Thrust, Spirit Blade, Evade, and DOS 2019 to 2025, who's currently leaving, just like in real life. Going forward, I'll be saying those attacks. Slash swings slow in comparison to Thrust, which is pretty dang snappy. They both build meter though, and meter's used by a few things, one of which being the Spirit Blade. With enough meter, you can use Spirit Blade 4 times and increase your spirit level. In the top left, the sword beneath your sword is your spirit gauge. The inside of the sword is filled with meter, and the outside displays your level. There are 3 levels: white, yellow, red. The true power of longsword lies in its counters. The first one being Foresight Slash. If you have no meter built up, make sure you hit the monster before you go for the counter. So in this case, I use Thrust very quick. Then before I get hit, I use Thrust plus Spirit Blade at the exact same time, and that's the counter. If you land that swing, you can then use Spirit Blade once more to increase your spirit level. Quick note, keep attacking right here. Don't sheath your weapon like this. Go for some Spirit Blades or Thrusts. At levels 1 and 2, that's the goal. At level 3, things change. Foresight Slash is a great counter, but the Lie special sheath is godlike. You just want to have 3 quick sheath cells, otherwise you won't be having the best time. After using Thrust, Slash, Spirit Blade, or even your Foresight counter, press Spirit Blade plus Evade to go into special sheath. From here you can use your Lie Slash, which if landed generates a full bar or full sword's worth of meter slowly. Or you can do the actual counter, which requires no meter whatsoever. I'll show that once this bar goes away. Any moment now. In case you didn't know, if you miss a Foresight Slash, you'll lose all the meter you currently have. That being said, this is much faster to pull off than a special sheath. But if you get a good spot for special sheath, you go ahead and thrust forward, Spirit Blade plus Evade, and then Spirit Blade once more before you get hit. Make sure you land the Slash after the counter happens, otherwise you won't get any extra spirit level. If you already have around 70% meter, do all the same steps, and then use Spirit Blade twice. After that's all said and done, you'll get essentially 2 spirit levels from 1 counter. This is really good whenever a monster isn't attacking you too often, and you're already got all these things in motion. There's an insane tech you can do with special sheath, but I first have to explain that you can hold the Spirit Blade button down and go into this long slash. Once you make that noise that just happened, and you're holding the blade in this manner, if you hit a monster, you will generate another spirit level. This is fantastic for if you ambush a monster. While the ambush attack is happening, hold down the Spirit Blade button to initiate the Spirit Charge, and once you're ready, go ahead and unleash for your Spirit Round Slash. Thrust, and then go to Foresight Slash, and probably counter the Roar. It depends on what you're fighting, but that's the idea. And in doing so, you'd have 2 spirit levels off rip. If you hold down Spirit Blade after doing a special sheath counter, you can go straight back into special sheath over and over again, skipping the long animation that makes you wait out. Around halfway through my swing, I hold down Spirit Blade, and once that slice happens, I press space to do the special sheath. Then I repeat the same process over and over again, but it's much easier to practice on a monster that's attacking you. You can change the training dummy to target you directly, which will help you immensely in practicing the special sheath. Do be aware that timing is important. Right there, I ran out of time to sit in that stance like a Goomba, so I got. The final counter is a dismount attack done by pressing Thrust and Slash at the exact same time. You don't need to swing to perform this counter. If you land it correctly, you'll glow blue and increase your spirit level by 1. The Wombologist approved fastest way to generate spirit level is by landing a focus strike on a wound and hitting multiple wounds with the slash you do. Each wound you hit with focus strike, whether it's the poke or the slash you do, will increase spirit level by 1. After hitting a wound with focus strike, where you hold directionally is where you'll go. Left or right, you'll go sideways. Backwards will be a small step back into a slash. If you hold forward, it'll be a very long step into a slash. If you hold nothing at all, if you're not moving anywhere, a small step into a slash. If you have enough meter, after a focus strike, you can go into more Spirit Blades and quickly get an extra spirit level. To better explain spirit levels, white and yellow, 1 and 2, are simply a means to an end in reaching red, which will enhance your abilities. Your slash now has a double hit, and your Foresight counter gives you a backflip animation. The whole time you're in red, you have a bar of meter that slowly depletes but allows you to use any move you really want to that requires meter. If you counter like a Foresight with nothing to hit, you lose meter. If you counter and land the counter, you get some meter back. If you land the subsequent Spirit Blade round slash, you also get meter back. Diminishing returns do exist for this mechanic, so be careful with the moves you use and try and use multiple counters to maximize how much meter you get back when you're in red gauge. And in this mode, you'll be seeing a lot of folks spamming Spirit Blade slash repeat that over and over again. But there is another option that's pretty fun, which is going to be Helm Breaker, which is done by pressing Spirit Blade and slash at the exact same time. You'll lunge forward. If you have any spirit level whatsoever, you'll be launched into the air. When you do the lunge attack, you have invincibility to being knocked back. When you're in the air, you can get knocked back, so be careful of that. Try and time it the best of your abilities. If you're at red meter, or spirit level, and you land the Helm Breaker, you can then go into some slashes that also give you knockback immunity. After Helm Breakering, if you land or miss the slash, it doesn't matter. You're going to lose 1 spirit level. If you have red gauge and you Helm Breaker, and then go into the slashes afterwards, you'll be losing 2 spirit levels, going from red all the way back down to white. If you misinput Helm Breaker and don't want to use it for any reason, go ahead and hold the sprint button while in the air to sheath your weapon, and you won't be slashing on the ground, so you won't lose any spirit level whatsoever. If you want to go into a counter directly after a Helm Breaker, let's say you're in red gauge for instance, you can simply do the Helm Breaker and upon landing, go into Special Sheath instantly. The same thing applies to the Foresight slash. I believe they have around the same time to pull off, so you're better off using the Special Sheath since it does more damage. Important quality of Spirit level 3 is you can Foresight slash indefinitely, but every time you use it without hitting a monster in return, you'll be losing a decent chunk of meter. Eventually, you'll drop back down to Spirit level 2, so be wary of your meter. Positioning, timing, and movement are monumental for longsword success. You want to be able to keep up the damage on monsters, and to do that, you gotta be decent with timing to hit your counters, position correctly to continue to hit them, and, what was the last one? Use movement to be close to them in all times. I think that one of those is a bit redundant, but whatever. An example of movement is using Special Sheath against a charging monster, one that's going to be barreling towards you at a pretty good speed. And you face your back towards it, so whenever it goes through you, you'll be moving in the same direction as them and hit them with the slash of your counter, which is the very important aspect of it. Because avoiding damage is good and all, but you want to land the slashes of your counters to actually build up your spirit level and do more damage. In Spirit level 1 and 2, Foresight slash steps you back, but you end up right where you started. In Spirit level 3, you do a backflip. That has some pretty good movement. Going full circle, slash is slow, thrust is fast. You want to thrust into your counters the majority of the time. It's just faster than doing a slash attack. Some monsters can hit you from Narnia, and folks refer to that as ranged attacks. When those are being used, you can't hit them with the slash of your counter, so the goal here is to avoid taking damage by still countering. And in this case, you want to be using a bunch of Foresight slashes, chain them back to back to back, or maybe just some Special Sheaths. Or go from a Foresight slash into a Special Sheath. Just figure out the timings, what works best for you, based on what you're fighting. It's a trial and error situation. A flashy and fast way to increase spirit level, especially when a monster isn't hitting you, is to place a small bomb. I normally mash and smash the slash button, and once that casts, I use thrust, and from there I go directly into a Foresight counter. If I have meter, I usually parry it. Pretty consistent with this. The other option is using the Lie Special Sheath, which is far more difficult timing. Place the bomb, use Spirit Blade, go directly into your Special Sheath, and I spam Spirit Blade again, hoping for the counter. There's one move that Big Longsword doesn't want you to know about that against my best wishes, I'll go ahead and show you. It's the Fade Slash. You press thrust and slash at the exact same time, you'll hit the monster and move yourself backwards. I never use this. Other folks may. I never use that move. I feel like I'm always better off just going into a Foresight counter versus doing a Fade Slash that locks you in an animation, and you can still get hit through it if you don't time it correctly. Random scenario. What do you do to build spirit level if the monster isn't attacking you? You have a few options. One being a Spirit Round Slash by charging Spirit Blade, but this does not keep up constant damage, and sometimes in facing monsters such as a flying one, Rathalos, Rathian, if they're in the air, you can take them down by simply hitting them a lot. If that's happening, go from a Spirit Blade into a thrust, over and over again. And as we know, you can combo those, and the 4th Spirit Blade will increase your spirit level. So the whole while you're building a spirit level, while also getting value by taking the monster out of the sky, putting it on the ground to increase your moo, your moment of opportunity. As of the making of this video, longsword benefits greatly from a bug with corrupted mantle, which allows you to double hit with your slash attack. And if you're in spirit level 3, you're spamming spirit blade plus slash attack over and over and over again for a lot more damage. I don't know if this would really change how it plays out if it gets fixed, and maybe results in you using more helm breakers than you currently do. But right now, that definitely plays a slight role in longsword being kind of Pepega. Because your slash double hits, it also generates double the meter, which means one slash followed by a thrust is enough to give you enough juice to use 4 spirit blades and increase your spirit level by 1. I don't want to put a build in this video, but there are some skills I highly recommend, such as Master's Touch, which is fantastic for maintaining sharpness on longsword. It's spending less time sharpening and increasing your damage overall in a hunt. Then you have Counter Strike. It says it activates when you get knocked back, but with longsword, if you Foresight slash an attack, you activate the ability. Maximum Might, which will be deactivated if you do Foresight slash for a moment, but reactivates especially during your long windows of attack, such as Spirit Blade plus slash spam in Spirit level 3. Quick Sheath, for anyone that wants to be using the Lie Spirit Sheath attack or counter. This is essentially necesito, if that's your goal. And aside from that, you can mix and match some stuff and figure out what kind of build you want to do. Or just Google best longsword builds. I didn't really make up mine at all. I got all the information from the people, so I didn't want to make a build video yet. Soon I will lose that nobility and capitalize on these views if they're there to be gathered. Anyway, that's the video. Thank y'all for watching and have a good day. Laters. It may help you to keep toggle training guide turned on, which I didn't have it on, unfortunately, because the left side of my screen is nonsense. But top right has a better detail of what your buttons do, or gives you more buttons to press. And in this menu with longsword, just press Spirit Blade one time, and now you've all of a sudden seen all the possible move sets. And I just showed you when to use them in the video, so we should have all our bases covered. If you're still confused, I'm sorry. I'm not going to say triangle circle 1,000 times, so let alone right click, left click, R space period. That's not going to happen.